With Zoom through just YouTube?
Yeah, so it's happening.
Okay, so we're pushing live to YouTube through Zoom.
Through Vikings.
Yeah, through using Zoom. That's cool. Because why would we do it natively when we can use a third-party service like Zoom?
Let me see if I can post. Oh, interesting. There's billable hours. So things that we bill people. Yeah. With everyone of the rate over three more.
Then you can Zoom. That's what you're gonna call it. Working title.
All right. All right. Can you see what it looked like over there? It look okay. Okay, we look good. I think if we're like close to.
Reverse it back so that you're, because Kim Dang is off. Split off screen.
What?
Your camera, it might be with
Oh, that's fine.
yeah.
Okay, this is episode 1 of the Create More Than You Consume podcast.
All right. So I guess we'll just get started with where that idea came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I'll just get some context. So, yeah, we're both the same age. We've both been in this internet marketing space for quite some time. I guess officially got started probably back in early 2000s, but went full time in like 2017, and that was kind of like my breakout year. But yeah, just there's so much noise and there's so much different ways that you can, potentially make money online and stuff, and it's easy to get overwhelmed with, what's going on now with AI, which just kind of speeds everything up that we used to do manually, that we yeah, that you can still do, but AI just makes those everything faster, cheaper, better, whatever. But and so I think it's easy to get overwhelmed with just all this content, and it's easy to get sucked down these what do you call it, doom scrolling rabbit holes and stuff with TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all these reels and stuff, and seeing what everybody else is doing, whether they're just doing it for fun or they're teaching you, trying to teach you ways that they just learned how to make money and stuff. And so,
Um, I want us to redo it. I want us to redo it because when you were talking, you were going back, forth like this. So the
okay.
sound is like in and out.
Oh, okay.
So just to have it start with the sound, I'm gonna try to.
Okay. So it just needs to be closer. Oh, okay.
Leave that back, but don't, you don't go like this.
Okay. So starting over.
Yeah.
Episode 1 of the Create More Than You Consume podcast.
Podcast.
Podcast. Yeah, so I guess we'll just start by giving you some context of where that phrase came from. So a couple of years ago, that phrase just kind of popped in my head because maybe some of you can identify with this or resonate with you of like just there's so much content out there these days, and it's easy to get sucked into these little doom scrolling rabbit hole things of just consuming lots of content, whether it be on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or wherever you consume your content and stuff, and just getting overwhelmed about what other people are doing, whether it's like just living their life, documenting their life, or trying to pull you into clicking a link on an influencer or affiliate link of like what they're doing, and because they just show you results without a lot of context, usually of like, oh, I've got a Lambo, I've got a big house, I've got a car, I've got all this money, this is a screenshot, like trust me, it's my screenshot, it's my bank account or whatever, it's my affiliate account. And I've tinkered a lot over the years, made a decent amount of money, not made money, and then it kind of just hit me. I was like, wait a second, there's a lot of things to get overwhelmed with, and when it comes to consumption stuff. And I realized that the times in my journey and the making money online where I was making the most money, yeah, I was consuming a little bit, but I was creating or producing way more than I was consuming. I was taking action on the little bit of things that I did know how to do or the things that I'd like previously consumed. So that's kind of the gist of this podcast. And we could probably hit it from a different angle almost every single episode. And then it would probably just like an evergreen amount of content. But I just shared that with Kim a couple of weeks ago because it's easy to get lost in the noise of like being pulled in all these different directions of what should I do? Crypto, AI agents, YouTube, TikTok shops. What should I do? And like they all work. Like everything works if you just work it, and you just need to pick one thing. Honestly, you probably there's a lot of free content out there that you can actually learn from. You don't have to buy a course, but I think it's valuable to eventually buy some sort of a course or get plugged into like a community or like follow one person that is clearly getting results, and then just like learn what they're doing and duplicate it, and then just you know continue working whatever their system is until you get enough to where you can like take your foot off the gas for a little bit and coast and stuff. But yeah, that's the gist of I guess what this podcast is going to be about. And just encouraging you to, you know, again, it's healthy to consume things. I mean, you don't come into this world knowing anything, so you got to learn from somebody, whether it's a book or course or seminar or mastermind or whatever. But from that point, in order to get results, you just need to produce something. You need to create something. And if you're find yourself off track where you're like spending more than you need, you should, or you're in too much debt. I mean, there's all sorts of things that can happen to you in this life, but a lot of times the like whenever my cash flow has gone, down, 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 and down. When I look at my actions, it's like, what am I doing with my time? And usually it's either not doing much of anything, or I'm spending time in what feels like um it's easy to convince yourself that you're doing work or doing research or whatever, or learning, but there's a point at which it has significantly diminishing returns, where you're just like consuming, 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 consuming. Even if you're not buying anything, you're just consuming, consuming. That's time that you're sucking away from your production, that you can be either manually creating content or creating value out there, or working towards looking into this world of AI and seeing how you can kind of streamline and automate and syndicate things that just give you more and more leverage. So yeah, anytime whether you're a beginner, you're whatever middle ground success, or you're successful entrepreneur, it's easy to lose sight of that. And I think this isn't stuff that you probably didn't already know. You just need to be reminded regularly that, hey, this is what produces those consistent, comfortable returns. The reason why we're able to be in a nice Airbnb here in like Colombia or anywhere in the world is because of the consistent effort that we put into like producing, 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 producing. And it's only like the in between those moments where we're producing that we're able to have these moments of like peace and comfort and stuff. Like when we're not on camera or talking or enjoying like the fruits of our labor, we're producing. So whether through some kind of automation or like manually like this isn't an AI recording or whatever. This isn't page in or whatever. But yeah, do you have anything to add to that, as far as like, does that resonate with you and your journey and stuff?
Yeah, it resonates with my journey because and I think the angle for this podcast would be, what are the things people don't talk about when they are creating over consuming that's actually working? Um, like for example, like Alex Hormozy reveals that he spent 4 hours a day, however many months, years to write and rewrite his book like 32 times in order for that book to be successful. And when you're thinking about creating over consuming, my gosh, like that's a level of creation that leads to his type of success. And I don't think a lot of people talk about how they're creating as much and what type of creation, how, all the things they're saying no to, all the things they're saying yes to, because a lot of people preach focus, but everyone that we know, when they're creating, they aren't focused. It is maybe focus for 1 week at one promotion, but they're throwing so many things against the wall. It's kind of mind-boggling how we're taught to focus on one thing, one offer, one thing. And that's really not the case, truly, a lot of times. So, because there's all these nuance. So, I think for us, it's discovering and sharing with you guys the things that are actually working. Like thinking back on, for me, I'm the founder and CEO of GroupConvert. And I also own this other company that we build and manage Shopify stores for you called the eHome Capitalist. And so what I've discovered is the times that GroupConvert, we go through like cycles and periods. But when I was creating for GroupConvert, I have multiple offers, low ticket, high ticket, all these types. And there's a certain way I go about creating each offer, where there's like a slight variance that I think on the outside, if you're looking in, you're like, oh, she focused on one thing. It's one offer. It's one. No wonder. That's really not the truth. The truth is, it was a lot of variances to one core offer. And here are the ways I varied it, like things like that. Because that's what actually leads to success. If I stuck with one offer only and it was like rigidly one certain way, I don't think that GroupConvert could have done as well as it did. Um, so in the noise of, I would say, like everyone telling you to focus on one thing, what are they actually doing? You know, what's actually happening that's allowing them to get the cash to make the millions? Because these millions are not composed a lot of times of one thing. They're composed of many different tries and until a certain stage, right? So it's understanding what is the truth behind all this creation and the way in which not just us but other people go about creating over being in that consumption cycle. And Greg currently has like a pulled like shoulder, so that's why you see him fidgeting quite a bit. Um, and yeah, we're just doing this in our living room right now. So yeah, back to you, Greg. How do you?
I have so many thoughts. Yeah, yeah, like I told Kim before we hit record, is like we just need a starting point, and I think we probably suffer from like the curse of knowledge. Like we know so much more than we think we do. Um, we just forget about it until we start talking about it. So what was interesting with talking to Kim for me, like I'm a few years ahead of her in the internet marketing space, but she we're the same age, and I think she's made more money in sales than me, at least in the last whatever 5 or 7 years or so. And so once we started talking a little bit more, I have a habit of comparing myself to others. So I was, from what I could see from what she was saying about her business, I was like, oh, you made more money. Like, um, that to me, that means you're more successful. And I just started building in my mind what the back end of her business must have looked like. And then the more we started talking, she was like, oh, like we're not too different. So basically all the wins you see, I there's a lot of iterations of that. And then on the side, there's a lot of other little offers that either you're testing of your own, or maybe sharing various affiliate products and stuff that bring in little sums of money, and sometimes they may be medium or bigger sums of money. You never really know, and you probably heard this phrase before, you really don't know anything until you test. And has been extremely frustrating to me, at least growing up in like the US school system, because we're taught to like memorize, retain, regurgitate, and there's a lot of emphasis on being right, being right, being right. But any seasoned marketer will tell you like you just got to get comfortable being wrong, because that is like the default. You're going to be wrong most of the time. Um, and you're going to take a ton of shots, um, trial and error. Like it's mostly error, but if if you stick with it, eventually, if you take enough shots, the way it tends to work out is the winners pay for all the losers. So you have a lot of losers, but whenever you hit a winner, the winner pays for all the losers. And then I do affiliate marketing through SEO, and it's the same thing for me. And I've had some success with like email marketing as well. Same thing. Like you send out an email, and some people like to brag about, vanity metrics like open rates and click-through rates, but like you can make $1 million a year off of 0.01% click-through rate. It doesn't, those numbers don't really matter as long as revenue is like the only thing that matters. And if your revenue exceeds your expenses, it doesn't really matter what all those other numbers are. But anyway, like the point I want to make is like, yeah, you're gonna just have to take a lot of shots, and and yeah, the way there's a lot of thoughts in my head, and when I first started to try to take internet marketing seriously, it was about the fall of 2010, and it wasn't about. I tried to like go out on my own fully in 2012, and I was really hard on myself, and still kind of am, of this phrase that I know a lot of y'all have probably heard people say. It's like work smarter, not harder. And I was like, man, I guess I'm dumb, because I can't figure out the quote smarter ways to work. But looking back on my journey, I so about I can't remember, it was 2010, 2011. I was one of the first people on Udemy's platform, udemy.com. I don't hear too many people talking about it anymore, but back then it's pretty cool and new, and people trusted it, and it was easy to make a decent amount of money. And I was trying to figure out like smart ways to scale, but like, and I just kind of blew, didn't do as well as I could have done back then if I just would have just put in more work. And because I was focused on the wrong thing, which was like I'm trying to like hit this grand slam, this smart way of doing things. And look, like, just to give you guys some context, I've never made more than $20,000 a year at a job um, before taxes. So, and that was like with a college degree and stuff. I just wasn't very good at the whole interview, whatever resume, job description stuff. So I got jobs, but they didn't pay very much. And so I was looking to like replace my job, whatever that means. But I I thought you had to be rich first to do that, which didn't make any sense because I wasn't making that much at my job anyway. So what I really needed to make was just whatever I was making at my job, and I would be free. But I was focused so far into the future, like, oh, I need to get like to six figures a year before I allow myself to quit my job. And the vehicle, I was starting to get some traction with Udemy, but I was like, man, I want to make like lots of money. And I was already making several $100s a month consistently. And on a good month, I'd get up to like 1,000, which was awesome. But, and so I just was too hard on myself. And because I was like, I want to make a lot of money, and I want to get fast, and I want to do it the smart way, whatever that is. So it was like all this BS criteria that I put on my shoulders when I really could have just taken my time, like consistently put in the effort, made more courses. And I've if any of y'all have come across Grant Cardone's book, like was it 10x success or 10x rule? I haven't read it, but I listened to the audiobook, and I basically got the concept, which is basically in order to 10x your results, you don't really need a 10x your effort, because you can't, but like uh if you just like 2x your effort, sometimes you can like 7x your income, if that makes sense. So an example of that would be if if I'm making $1,000 a month and I only need like 2,000 to quit my job, that's not going to require like 10x effort to pull that off, to double and that small number, to double my income. I just need to make a few more courses, which for me, I was doing that on nights and weekends. Like I'd take Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, I think I'd like script out a course. Saturday, I would record the whole thing, and then Sunday, I would edit it and upload it and publish it, and then I'd have a new course. So if I just did that one new course a week and stuck to that, eventually I would have scaled up to, probably $2,000 or $3,000 consistently, and then I would have been able to quit my job. And that's not rich, but it would have freed me up and freed up all my time, because I wouldn't have to be going to a job anymore. And then I could use all that time to like probably double my income again. And again, that still wouldn't be like what most people would consider rich, but to go from like two to like 4 or 5 thousand, now that would have given me enough to cover all my expenses and a little bit of like wiggle room cash flow that I could just invest into myself through like courses or masterminds or tools to scale it, even my income even further. So for those of you that or like me that maybe like beating yourself up of like trying to find that perfect method, whether it's like a TikTok shop or whatever. You see all these trendy viral ways to make money, and again, you're just seeing like a snapshot. You're seeing somebody's like, you don't know their context. They were probably like grinding for weeks and months to get that one moment or that one payout. And there are some situations where some things do take a short amount of time, but those are the exception. Like I've had a few of those myself where, I send out an email for whatever reason, it's the right timing, the right product, whatever, people respond and make a lot of money. But those are the exceptions in my experience. What is more consistent is having what I call base hits, just like you create some content and maybe it makes a little bit of money, a little bit of money, a little bit of money. Great. That's great. You just stack those wins and compound those. And that's how you eventually get to the big numbers and stuff and get leverage and stuff. So,
Yeah, and I would like to add some like direct specific insight for my world as well. Um, People don't really tell you what's the truth on the back end unless you're like, I feel a part of either a mastermind or a program. And I myself have invested over $370,000 of my own into masterminds so that I can see like what is the real truth versus what everyone is telling you in various masterminds. And that allowed me to shortcut my success to know what it is to create and what it takes because creation is like stabs in the dark a lot of times. But it doesn't necessarily have to be if you literally have a mentor. And I think the difference a little bit of between Greg's world and my world, and the reason why I'm able to like generate more in just revenue and income is because I invested that much in masterminds. And Greg has been in some masterminds, but he didn't necessarily like invest like a crazy person into masterminds and implemented it. I would fly my team member into these mastermind meetings and he would sit right beside me and implement in real time everything we're learning as much as humanly possible while we're there. And that is something that I don't believe is being shared that much when it comes to like even masterminds. Like, how do we create? We think that it's our job to create as the CEO to go and create the things. But it could be that we hire someone, fly them in, and they're creating in real time all the things we got to create. And then we create like the fringe stuff around it. So, for example, the course that I have that sold millions was created by my team member because I'm like, hey, Michael, I'm going to fly you in. I got a house in Miami. He flew in. I'm like, you're going to do nothing else for the next 3 weeks. All you'll do is record day and night. Everything that you have learned under my system, you're going to break everything down and it's going to be extremely step by step. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to do nothing else. And that enabled me to have like a very effective course. But let's say that, you know, if you're listening to this podcast and you think, oh man, I got to create my own course because, if I don't make it, then no one will understand. No one will get like what it is that I want to say. Only I can do it. That's incorrect. Someone else can make your course, and then they can just take over everything. Like one of the guys that I listen to, love him or hate him, is Ty Lopez. And Ty Lopez, 20 his 26 program or 29-day program, 27 steps. Oh man, I butchered that. 27 steps. That wasn't created by him. 67. His 67 steps, I don't know why I blinked out, but his 67 steps, that wasn't even created by him. It was created by his cousin. And his cousin, became a doctor. But during that period, he took what Ty knew and he created the program, and he's super smart. He's very intelligent, but he put that together for Ty. And that's one of the biggest, most influential, like tiny programs of Ty's company to this day. And it wasn't even created by him. So when I think about creating over consuming, I think about those things as well. And so I feel like this podcast could really help you uh, if you are trying to make decisions in terms of what to create, how to get that win. And maybe as we go and we interview other people under this podcast, we can say, well, if you want to, let's say, if you want to sell like a very successful course, these are the things that you think you have to do. These are the things that we actually did. These are the things that they actually did. And if you know the actual truth, without having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on masterminds, um, it would get you very far. And then you don't have to be so hard on yourself that, you didn't have every single module correct in your course. So these are the topics that I feel like is very relevant to dive into. And I like how you mentioned all the things that didn't work for you as well, all the things that did work.
There's so I feel like we could talk for hours. But yeah, maybe I'll save some of the stuff for other episodes. But yeah, I just want to piggyback off of your live event stuff. So you, even though you started in the internet marketing space later than me, you did certain things sooner that it took me a while to do. That I want to just touch on two things. So I guess you could say my official start that I was like Googling like make money online was 2010, even though like in college I was trying to like dabble, but I treated it more like a hobby. It was just like internet money. It's not real money. It's just like side hustle, which don't, if you want to shortcut your success, treat it like real money from the get go. It's not side money because, yeah, the only reason you need a job is for money, is for cash flow. So if you can make that outside of a job, you don't need a job. That you just need cash flow to live in this system that we live in, and it doesn't matter where you get it from. As long as you get it, you don't ever need to go to 9 to 5 ever. But so it wasn't until 2016 that I started going to my first live events, and the what pushed me over the edge, because some reason in my mind I was like okay with spending like $97. That was my max at that time, like 97, maybe 197 on a digital product. But I wouldn't go to live events because I was like, it's more expensive. I'm going to have to have a plane ticket. I don't even know if Uber, well, Uber was out then, but Uber, a taxi, a hotel, and then like the event ticket. Oh, it's going to be thousands of dollars, even though I was putting thousands of $97 transactions on a card. Because again, I didn't make enough at a job, but that was my form of leverage, was credit cards. But in 2016, Chris Record had an event in Vegas, and what pulled me there. I still had to pay for the flight and the hotel, but he was like, it's a free event. So I was like, okay, it's free. That's so, and it was a huge event. But that kind of got me out of my shell, and I made up for lost time. So this was 2016 in January. And that year I went to like 4 or 5 events. So I went to like masterminds and other little internet marketing meetups. And the second one I went to was JV Zoo's Marketing Mayhem. I think it was like one of the last ones that they had. They were awesome, but it was in Orlando. And talked to a guy who he got started not too long after me, but he had like way more success, way faster. And I was like, man, how did you have success so fast? And he said, oh, well, I just did two things. I started out not buying courses. He said, I started out, one, I went to live events. Two, I networked and met people at those live events. And that's like the biggest hack ever, because it cuts through all the noise. And for anybody that's like either newbie or they're broke, or they're just, maybe they have money, but they're like, I don't want to go to a live event. It's the fastest shortcut ever, because what Kim was saying earlier, it cuts through all the noise of like, what's on the other side of this course, do I have to buy like, because I mean, even me and Kim, it's like we don't have unlimited 997s to pay to guess to see what's on the other side of this course, to see if it's something that we might even want to do. And so when you go to live events, you get to meet a lot of these people, a lot of the course creators, and you can just kind of pick their brain or whatever, or ask them questions or get some insight into like what into a clear direction of like what should I focus on so that you can model. Because I don't recommend anybody trying to reinvent the wheel. Just find someone to learn from that's already has a recipe, and you literally just copy their recipe to make your first success. And then you're also going to make those connections, which you can't really do online. Yes, you can like get connected through like Facebook Messenger and stuff, but it's not the same as building a relationship in person. Even if you're not that good at talking to people or whatever your social, like being face to face with someone cuts through all the messenger noise because they don't know you from Adam. Like, unless you're like a newbie, but you're throwing money at them. You're like, hey, can we hop on a call for 5 minutes? I'll pay you $500. Maybe it might get their attention, but otherwise they're like, I don't know you. Like, I'm not gonna hop on a call with you. So that is a humongous hack, and it even if the event costs like $1,000 or whatever, it's like $3,000 total to go with the plane and everything, it's going to save you way more money in the long run, like in 12 months. And it's going to save you like money in form of time, because even, you know, if you're just sitting at home doing nothing, that's a lot of wasted potential. And you're not, I know you're probably like I was, you're like, it was very frustrating for a couple of years of my life because I just didn't have the right mindset. It was like a poverty mindset. And I would come home on nights and weekends and I had time, which is very valuable. But I remember thinking, I have all this time and I wish I had something to do that I knew would work, because I would work on it. I was disciplined, but I didn't know what worked. And I didn't want to be guessing, throwing stuff at the wall. But it was like, if I had a proven recipe, I would have done it. And you can find those at these live events. And I'll just finish up by this. So at that second event I went to, I was already kind of dabbling in SEO and affiliate marketing, and I'd gotten a little bit of traction. But that it was that event that I met up live with a couple of people that I was following and kind of picked their brain. They were had more success than me, and I was like, what, trying to compare notes, like, hey, what are you doing in regards to this and this? And I found out that I knew more than them, but it didn't matter because they had more results because they were taking a lot more action on the little bit that they knew. So I went back home. It was like, oh, cool. Like, I don't have to know all these things that I thought I had to know. I can just take action on like the little bit because they only knew a little bit. And I came home, and like by the end of 2016, that was my last like November, December. It was the last job I ever had. And then 2017, fast forward, that was my first six-figure year. So I wasn't any smarter. I just had more clear direction. So the live events really was the turning point for me.
Yeah, and live events, same with me. The first month that I ever had a high ticket offer put together, I did about $46,000, and that's coming from like trying to sell a $7 course. Um, and it was because I invested in a live event. I paid $3,000 to one of my mentors, and it was an offer workshop. We showed up live. We put together an offer, which I saw was nothing more than bullet points and a value stack. That was it. That was it. And we spent 2 days putting that just together. And most of it was copy and paste from his offer stack. So the offer that I put together was very similar to his offer stack. And at that event, I invested in his $36,000 mastermind. I put on a card paying $3K a month for a year. But the first month that I ever had a 10K offer, guess who bought the 10K offer? Everyone in the mastermind that paid him $36,000, or at least, on a payment plan. So really the shortcut to success is meeting people live, meeting people in person, And also, the people who can afford or who have the mental mindset to show up at an event in person to learn, they're the most dedicated and they're also the most abundant mindset. Like they have the most abundant mindset. And so they will say yes to you. Also, you're connected to them. And I just remember, I'm like, wow, masterminds and live events are so powerful because the people that are going to buy my high ticket offers exist here. And so, yeah, because of that, I only join masterminds where we actually meet up in person now. If it excludes meeting up in person, I don't invest. And also, that's why I have my own mastermind, which leads to um, the event that we have. So I have GroupConvert Live. It's our ninth event. I host about 2 to 3 events a year for GroupConvert, and it's coming together to understand how to monetize your community, profiting big on smaller audiences, converting one to few. A lot of people like one to many. This is one to few, and utilizing automations and AI to do it. So if you like reoccurring revenue that just comes in, if you want to understand how that ecosystem works with high ticket offers, selling something that you love to sell, which is your expertise, then this event is for you. It's coming in the next couple weeks. It's on September 25th to the 29th. And if you're interested in joining us live in person, it's a mansion mastermind. It is a smaller one, about 20 people. Go ahead and comment below this video, mastermind or live, comment live, and I'll be able to get you the details. So let me know. Actually, we'll drop the link to the event in the description of this video once it renders. But shameless plug, live events are amazing. And there we're going to create over consume.
Yeah, there's so many tangents we could go off on, but you just brought up another point, which is like um a lot of times your customers and your kind of quick, I just call it like instant ROI are the other people at the event, which is wild, right? It's like because there's so many things you could say on this too, and we've had this conversation too, and this kind of dives into or segues into like spirituality or energy or money is energy if you are into that. But like there, unless you just grew up in, I guess, in a wealthy family or whatever, which I'm guessing most of the people that are trying to make money online, they probably aren't because they wouldn't have this mental money block. But a lot of people do have this like uh, aversion, as I don't know if that's the right word, to charging higher ticket. Well, a really like instant hack in my own life, and Kim did this too with her one of her first live events to overcome that money block is to find a way to give that amount to someone else. Now, not in a careless way, but like through investing in yourself through like a mastermind, it kind of like unlocks that. So the same thing happened for me the first time I paid someone 5 figures to go to a mini mastermind. I like doubled my income within 2 weeks later or something by one little nugget that got shared at that event, and then that empowered me to charge those prices as well, because I now I can confidently say if anybody ever says like, why are you worth this, like, well, I've paid that amount to others, and you can say that with confidence and conviction, and people can feel that in your energy. And I want to share this story too, because like the last job that I was at, the one that I quit in 2016, it was the longest job I'd ever been in. It was only like 3 years. And we, my boss at the time, he and I would just go into his office and kill a bunch of time, usually throughout the week and stuff. But he would just like pour into me all this like business knowledge and wisdom and stuff. And we were in the houseware space, so we sold a lot of like vacuums and air purifiers and things like that. And so every summer we'd go to this conference, this event called the Houseware Shows in Chicago, and he said, "Yeah, man, like we would go, they would go to other events and stuff too, but he said this couple of years in a row they were just doing like millions and millions of dollars, so they got kind of cocky and they're like, hey, we're doing so many millions in sales that we don't this year we're gonna cut our like um convention budget and stuff, or where we're not going to go to a lot of events this year because we're good this year, we're making millions, and like it's just been a consistent thing like year after year. It's like we're making millions, we don't need to go this year. And he said we didn't go for 2 years. He said looking back, those were the only 2 years that their business didn't make like more profit. And so they're like, and the only thing they could trace it back to was like, what did we do different those last 2 years? Oh, we'd stopped going to live events because we thought we were too good for them. We don't need to go to live events. It's just it was quite an expense because they had a booth too. So it was a lot. But he said every single time we go to these live events, it's kind of hard to trace exactly like who you're going to meet, what connection and stuff. But he said that we always got an ROI, and when we cut that budget, that was the only year that we dipped. And I remembered that because like, wow, you just got to keep investing, keep going. I mean, be strategic at the ones that you go to. Like Kim hasn't been to as many as she used to, because I think you're probably a lot more strategic in selecting the rooms that you want to be in now. But initially, I mean, I would encourage you to go to um, some of the bigger ones that maybe they're like $1,000 or less, but they have thousands of people. Because when you're starting out, it just uh, creates an opportunity for you to meet lots and lots of people. Those, and then from there you can talk to people and figure out what the smaller rooms are. Because a lot of times the smaller masterminds, they're like, you just kind of have to know people. Even they're not even like advertised, you're not going to see them on a Facebook ad and stuff. And so you figure out a lot of times what those smaller rooms and more niche masterminds are at the bigger events and stuff. But definitely recommend going to live events. It's just going to shortcut your path to success, and you're just going to learn. Yeah, you're just going to be around people that are going to help train your brain and like how to think and what you should be thinking about and stuff. Because a lot of the stuff that, if you're staying at home isolating, thinking that you're going and you're buying into this belief that you're just going to learn everything for free on YouTube, there is an element of truth in that statement. But when you don't know what you're looking for, you could be looking at solid gold and you don't even know what it is. So like, at least these live events, in my experience and in the experience and talking to every other person that's achieved like 6, 7, 8 figures and beyond, they don't do it in isolation. They don't do it in the comfort of their home. They may, yeah, it may just be tiny little masterminds, but they don't do it just by reading a book or watching a course or watching a YouTube video for free. There's no such thing as a self-made man or woman. Everybody has help, and even the people, if you want to be like, well, I knew this guy who like didn't ever go to masterminds, yeah, whatever, but he also didn't do it by himself, because you don't come into this world knowing any of this stuff. So you've got to learn it from someone else, whether it's reading a book that you didn't write or going through a course that you pirated or whatever. Like you learn from other people, and just the fastest way to get there is to just network, and one of the easiest ways to do that is live events. Because again, there's nothing, I love the internet for a tool to bringing people together, but live events create a connection and bond, and trust and rapport that Messenger can't create, and even a Zoom call can't create. You can't get that same connection that in person that you can get through like digitally or whatever alone. So
Yeah. And to close off, I guess, is to say that sometimes at live events, maybe you're in your head and you're like, oh man, it can't be done this way. And then you share it and then you meet three other people who are like, what are you talking about? It's totally like this. And it gives you so much reassurance. It gives you so much like, oh man, this is the truth and this is how I should execute. And that kind of energy at a live event is life changing because you could just be in your head. Um, I call it this. One of my group convert users, group converters, I call them. Yo, if you use group convert, let me know in the comments. Um, it's one of my tools that let you collect emails automatically from Facebook groups, hence monetizing communities. One of my group converters, they were like, yeah, Kim. So they told me because they met me live, there's some things that are just that needs to be caught and not taught. There is energy, there's confidence, and there is just massive action that happens at these live events or the energy that comes after these live events that it just can't be taught to you. You just have to catch that energy. And that energy exists so powerfully when you're meeting people face to face. And that type of confidence, that type of energy carries you. It carries you to the next season. It carries you to the next couple months. And it's life changing. So I do strongly believe in live events. That's why we have one. And so you can get the link in the description, or you can go to groupconvert.com, like converting your group, .com/mastermind. And you'll see tickets to come to our next one. Every single person in the room is a higher level entrepreneur. If you are just starting off, you're just a beginner, then we will reach out to you and we'll see if you're a good fit to come. But a lot of the people in the room are already at a certain place where they're ready to scale their offer. With that said, I guess any last words, Greg, before we hop off?
Yeah, just like speak. You can just hold it. I'll just speak on the live event thing again. And I like what you said because I've uh, discovered this as well. Is like it's the caliber of people that show up at live events, not just people, because you got to think about what it takes to get there. It's not just the money. They've got to, if they have a job, which a lot of people do until they like transition, they got to take off work. If they got a family, got to go make arrangements with babysitters and stuff. So the caliber of people that show up at live events is they're just higher caliber people than like some rando that you made online. And in my experience, I've never had a negative ROI. Like it's always, I don't care how high ticket the event is, and I don't care how small the room is. I've always had a positive ROI on every live event I've ever been to, whether it be six people in a room or 3,000. It's always a positive return on your investment.
Yeah, and I can say ditto to that. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for listening to our first episode, Create More Than You Can Consume, More Than You Consume podcast. We're gonna see if we can absolutely get guests here to tell you and help you educate yourself on how do people actually create? What does that creation process look like? What are the things that you can get into and create that actually makes a huge lever, uh, like gives you the greatest return on your investment? And it's coming from real people having gone through the creation process themselves. Like for example, one of my friends who live in Medellin, Colombia, he's one of the top affiliates for Go High Level. His name is Pavel. It takes him 8 hours to put in the time to create his YouTube videos, but he is a top affiliate for Go High Level, so he earns well over six figures per month on you know, just being an affiliate because of the quality of the content and how he goes about his creation process. So things like that, we have access to people place, these people who have walked the walk. And so now they can talk a talk. And we're hoping to bring those people to you, as well as share some of our own insights. Well, have a great rest of your day. This is Kim and
Greg.
and we will see you on episode 2.